Hello, and welcome to a very special episode of Desperate Housewives Revisited, a podcast that wonders how much do you actually want to hear? Two guys wondering how much you want to know about your neighbors. I am one of your hosts, Joey Moser, and I am joined, as always, by Clarence Moy. Today, we are joined by the fiendishly clever, the delicious, the nine-fingered virtuoso herself, Harriet Sansom Harris. Hi, Harriet.
Hi, how are you?
We're good. How are you?
Very well, thanks. Very
Good.
happy to be here.
We're happy to have you. I guess
Absolutely.
I think before we jump into some questions about
About things I don't remember.
it's there's something anytime as Clarence and I have been going through this first season, Clarence and I sort of bonded over how much we love Desperate Housewives and one of the many things. And as we've been going through these episodes, and every time you walk on screen, I just feel like I don't know if I can speak for Clarence here, but I feel like a tremendous sense of comfort seeing you because I have always thought that you, as Felicia Tilman, is a really beautiful mixture of material and performer, really marrying together beautifly.
Oh,
It's
that's
just
nice.
it just felt like you I can just imagine you sort of getting that script and just really kind of really diving into it. I think it's just really I think delicious is the word that we use every time we see you.
Oh,
Um,
thanks.
of course. And I guess that might lead to my first question. So, like, Felicia Tillman really feels created specifically for you, and I guess we both wanted to know how you found yourself upon Wisteria Lane.
I I don't know that it was created for me. I had worked with Mark before, and I think he possibly intended that I would be playing this part.
Hmm.
So, but he never said it's written for you or anything like that. I don't believe. I played Christine Estabrook's sister before on
Hmm.
something, and maybe he said he wrote it with me in mind, but not for me. That would be a
Mm.
very different thing for Mark to say that it was written for somebody. So, uh, but it was offered to me, and I didn't audition for it. And
Okay.
I think what he said was he had, he was thinking Angela Lansbury, and I adore Angela Lansbury. But when I think Angela Lansbury, I think of like the Manchurian Candidate, or
Hmm.
uh, or Sweeney Todd, but
Uh,
no, he was thinking of Cabot Cove. And so I really had, I think I had a very different attack on the part than Mark had initially envisioned. And so that had to be adjusted because he's the executive producer. And wardrobe was changed. A lot of stuff was changed.
hmm.
But it was, oh, so that I guess answers that question. Otherwise, I'll just keep going infinitely.
Sure. And we'll listen like
Because
this.
no, because of association. It's like, oh, and then. So, but I would love to, answer your actual questions, not just ramble.
We take the rambling. So Joey feels comfort. I have always felt discomfort when Felicia Tillman walks on
Sure.
screen because the way that you slink on the screen and you have that smile on your face, and it's just so unsettling. Like I'm very interested in the physicality and how you constructed that demeanor for Felicia Tillman.
I think that it's in my mind, it was like you're on a bus and you're sitting down next to somebody you assume is, oh, well, that's a safe person to sit next to.
Hmm.
And then suddenly you think of any seat on this bus. Why did I sit next to this person? Because there's really an aura of something, there's a vibration of I don't know what coming off of it. But it would be wise to get away, but I'm too polite to move. So I'm not going to. And I think that's sort of Wisteria Lane, too polite to move away,
Mhm.
but give Felicia her distance once they've given her and you can never really give Felicia her full measure, I don't think, because she always does something nice, like bake cookies for somebody, or bring them a cake, or so it's never really complete menace. It's always with a dose of something.
And there could be a dose of something in the cookies
Yes,
too.
there could be.
You can never be
Literal.
sure about
I
that.
think I'm sure they took the cookies and pitched them immediately.
I literally have a cake in the oven right now.
Oh, well.
And I feel like maybe if I put myself in Felicia Tilman's shoes, maybe I would I don't know. I'm giving the cake to somebody else, so maybe I should put a Felicia Tilman face on whenever I deliver it, and freak them out. Um, Something that I love about your performance throughout the whole show is that I feel like you bring a real sense of control to the character, sort of going along like what Clarence was saying about how you sort of maybe slink on screen. And I feel like a lot of people don't even really know that they might be under your control, or they might be being manipulated, or they're answering questions that they don't even realize they're being questioned. I guess I wanted to know, do you think that Felicia is very conscious of how good she is at doing that? And I also wanted to know if you think there's anyone on Wisteria Lane that would be harder to manipulate.
I think probably Lynette would have been hard to manipulate, but I so frequently spent time by myself on Wisteria Lane, and the amount of interaction I had with the community or with the neighborhood was really very small. At least in my memory, in my recollection, I'm always like stirring pancake batter or something and looking out a window and keeping tabs on what else is happening, and an eye out on Paul Young's house. And I think Terry and I did have quite a lot of stuff to do together towards the end. But other than the initial, maybe she's going to work out in this neighborhood. No, we're not going to invite her for poker. We're not going to really encourage her to babysit our kids. We're not, she's not that kind of neighbor. So I was given a pretty wide berth by both the writers and I think she was there to serve a purpose of menace without ever really being the main plot point. And when I was, to the extent that when I was reading, I thought, gosh, I've got this coming up. I better, and while I was having morning coffee, I thought, I could go to Wikipedia and review what I, not just what I did, but there's an entire, of course, page, because Desperate Housewives, I'm not mentioned. I'm even in the cast, even in like recurring, I'm not on the page. So I thought, wow, she really would. In my mind, Felicia had more to do. But I think Wikipedia said, not so fast. Really, Felicia doesn't exist in this world. So I was quite surprised. I may have been excised.
No, not at all. That's just, the thing about Wikipedia is that, just random people come up and add to it, and the right person hasn't added. There's a fan-based Wikipedia that is called Desperate Housewives Wikipedia or something along those lines. And I actually read that last night, and you did a whole lot more than I remembered you doing.
Oh,
you're all over that. You're everywhere on that one.
Yes. So you just need to find the right one.
Well, I thought, gosh, I should be fluent. I should have people's names, and I should, remember more than I actually do. But when you're by yourself a lot, you don't remember the event as well as when you're sharing the event with somebody else. I think it's just, there's something unobserved about it. So that's what and Cody and I did stuff because I was after Cody, I was after Paul Young, and Jamie Denton. I remember always being extremely sweet and friendly. And I enjoyed the few interactions that we had, but it was basically, I think, Terry, and that was fun too.
You had one scene, and we actually interviewed Christine Estabrook earlier this year, timed to the our review of Martha Huber's death episode, and we always
Hmm.
lamented about how we wanted more between you two. I mean, you did have
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
one scene together later on in the year. It's kind of a flashback scene, but you know, Joey and I have been talking about how we would love like a a Martha and Felicia spinoff series.
Oh, God, that would be funny.
It would be so devious. So devious.
But there's a lot of background there, obviously, between those two characters. And when you were coming onto set, when you were talking about Martha's death and Felicia's odd reaction to her death, did you work with the writers to kind of figure out sort of that backstory? Did you come up with that their past history together? Did that influence you in any way?
I, I certainly didn't work with the writers. Nobody, I mean, truly, maybe the main housewives, people were interested in their input,
Mhm.
but I, I think that, um, I think nobody ever wanted to talk to the actors about anything.
Okay.
And sometimes there's a feeling that actors will just throw a wrench in the works,
Mhm.
that, and they're all the plotting and all the, everything that goes on um, in a writer's room, or when they decide how to break the stories, who gets the story, what part of the story that writer's going to write, and all of that. It's uh, not too much uh,
Did you
was
fill in the
ever.
gaps for yourself, though?
Oh, well, you just create she doesn't like her. She
Right.
doesn't like her own sister, but she is going to avenge her death, because if anybody had a right to kill her sister, it was her. So nobody, somebody else got there first. So, but and Christine was a great person to think about, because she's so much fun, and so I can imagine that both, whatever, if you look at Christine's personality and then you think, I mean, as Martha, and you think what would really grate on that, could they not get along? And, um, but, but the history of the relationship and the thorn in the side nature of those siblings, I think that the never supportive sibling,
Mhm.
that I think was a fun thing to work with, and that she's really on her own, and then suddenly you find out there's the daughter, but
Mm.
out of some virgin birth occurs, and I've got that daughter, the wonderful Emily Burgle. So, uh, yeah, it was almost non-involvement, except that you show
Mhm.
up
Yeah.
and you say the
Yeah.
line spoken. I did remember once asking somebody something, one of the producers that was on set, because there was something that I was doing that truly to me did not make any sense. And I can usually justify just about any kind of thing, because it's my job. And and he responded, above my pay grade, meaning these decisions have been made and it's not moving.
Oh, wow.
So
Wow.
and I thought, oh, jeez, if it's above your pay grade to answer, it's obviously above my pay grade to ask, because that's I think the signal here. But it was a fun show to do.
Of course.
I have to say, one of your first scenes, just speaking of Martha, I love how we immediately get a sense of your relationship, because before you even get onto her, I think it's on her front porch, you're talking with Nicolette, and she says something about a loved one. And I wrote down the line, she's loved one. Oh, Edie, let me be clear about this. I hated Martha. She was a wretched pig of a woman. And the day she died, the world became a better place. And then, like, you guys just walked into the house. So it's like, I'm going to give you another line reading, because that's part of my next question. There's when we see you address the crowd a fair view about Martha's death. A policeman says, I think people are out there just because they're kind and they want to be supportive. And you turn to him and you say, please, human beings feed on misery. And I guess I wanted to know if that is something that maybe Felicia actually believes, or
Oh, yeah.
Do you think, or would you even consider her being more of how people work than other people? She's very like straight to the point with that.
I'm so sorry that the Zoom kind of broke up on that last section. That would I consider that she's more?
Well, I'm wondering if you consider her to just be more aware of how human interactions work.
I think she does believe that people feed on other people's misery. I think that she does think that Martha was a wretched pig of a woman. These are things that I think are very factual. I think one of the disarming things about Felicia probably was that she said pretty much whatever she thought at all times, and it was usually unpleasant, but said with a demeanor of, this is the way everybody thinks it, and I'm just going to say it. And unpleasant truths, she thinks truths, delivered with no guile. Just that's the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
I think some people are really taken off guard by that amount of honesty, like the way that you offer up a sort of truth like that. Maybe people can't like wrap their heads around it actually being said.
And it doesn't look like truth to most people.
Mm-hmm.
Most people don't think that. Mm-hmm. Most people think that.
Most people don't say it.
Yeah, but it's that there's a certain segment that does feed on human misery, mm-hmm. and there are people who want to be supportive and help, or just say, "Oh, shield me from that." But now, let me see what I can do a little bit. Or she was my neighbor after all. So. On a small scale, it was a catastrophe in that neighborhood. And like the fires or floods, or there are people who are just going to read about it, and people who will dress and feed the hungry, and really try to help out. And they're not feeding on anybody's misery.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned earlier working with Cody Cash, who played Zach Young. And I was surprised in rewatching this first season. I had forgotten that Felicia tries to insert herself into his life as almost a surrogate mother figure. What was behind that action? What was the motivation for that? Is she just trying to steal him away from Paul the way that Paul stole Martha out of her life, or is it just?
I think just get close to the villain, mm-hmm. and look for vulnerabilities. Where is anybody more vulnerable than their child? Probably, right. If you've mm-hmm. got, or your dog or your cat, or in my case, my parrot, it's, those are, you're protective of, mm-hmm. of, your dear ones. And I think mm-hmm. that's what that was about.
Okay. You and, Mark Moses have this really incredible scene. It's towards the end of the first season, as the tension between Felicia and Paul really gets to a high boiling point. It's the scene where you have like a plate of cookies, and you're sitting down in the kitchen and you offer him a plate of cookies, and you're sort of offering the truth of like, well, this is what you have to do. I'm going to take care of Zach, and this is everything. And he sort of storms out. And then it's revealed after he leaves that you had like a knife in your hand. Like, I guess if necessary, you were going to use it. I guess Clarence and I talked about that scene a lot. And Clarence, remind me, is there anything else in that I'm forgetting?
The potentially poisoned plate of cookies. The thing that I kept focusing on in that scene was, I would never eat those cookies.
Yeah. I guess if you could tell us anything about that scene, if you remember anything, or maybe even just getting to that boiling point between those two characters. It's sort of this like placidity that Felicia brings to a lot of situations. That's very matter of fact, honestly, that we're talking about. I guess if you have anything about that, we'd love to hear it.
I don't remember whether there was poison in the cookies or not. I do remember that that I felt in that moment as Felicia very powerful as to whether somebody would take the cookie or not.
Yeah.
And whether the that a cookie might be a weapon, and that but that, and I think at some point maybe I was sending something over to Susan's that maybe wasn't quite right.
That was a subsequent season.
Yeah. So maybe I think that's when I started putting stuff in the food. I think that somehow things had reached, as you say, that boiling point between us, that even a cookie seems like it could be a threat, and that he's in the house. I mean, Felicia can always outwit Paul because Felicia's a million times smarter than Paul Young. Or I think than anybody on the street. Felicia is just drop dead smart. And and she has wit, and she has an ability to maneuver. But Paul is a strong guy, and he hates me mightily. And I think that the knife was, he might try to overtake me. And if that's the case, I've got nothing but this. I can keep doing things. I can keep maneuvering. But if it comes right down to it, the only thing I've got is this knife. And then she ends up chopping her own, digit off to try to get to him, to, really, but that's, I think that was how frightening it was, is I don't think I was ever going to stab him in my house, because that would be pretty stupid. But if he came at me, I would have that. But I really don't, I only have a vague memory of that ever happening.
And one of the treats I think that has happened for us as we've rewatched this first season on its 20th anniversary is just how, as a character, how dumb Paul truly is. Like, he's the bad guy of the season, but he's making all kinds of terrible choices, terrible decisions. It was really kind of funny.
It is funny. I mean, he's emotionally stupid, and he's not very bright on any level, but he's so handsome and so striking, so strong, and he's clever. He's just stupid.
I mean, yeah.
Mary Alice had all the brains there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So obviously, over the course of the series, well beyond season one, Felicia continues this obsession with Paul. There's a quote that we've read a couple of places where, you had mentioned everybody thinks Felicia's evil, but she's not evil. She's just a zealot.
Yeah.
What is behind that zealotry? Is it the fact that he got to Martha before she could?
Oh yeah. I don't think she ever would have really killed her sister, but she enjoyed hating her.
Right.
And that it was the major relationship in her life, and that was taken, and nobody has a right to do that. He killed her sister. How can you wish anybody well? So and the law did nothing to him. So somebody has to do something, and who else is going to care enough about Martha to do it? But it had to be put right, even if it meant that, I would do all sorts of things in order to try to get that to happen. Including trying to get evidence. Tried all sorts of things, but none of it worked, really.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I know we've been talking about the first season through our podcast series, but and for some reason, when we were, Clarence and I were talking about stuff we wanted to ask you, I was like, I had forgotten how Felicia meets her end. And I watched the episode, the final moments in the epilogue, how I'd forgotten about how you grab the urn and you're in the car and you're driving and it gets knocked over. And then I forgot about the semi truck. I don't know how I had forgotten that. And I guess I wanted to know, maybe looking back so many years later, I don't want to say what is your opinion of your character's death, but I kind of wanted to know.
I don't think she is dead. I think she survived. Mark says I'm so wrong. He says she's dead.
Well, what does Paul know?
Mark Cherry. I mean,
Mark Cherry, never mind.
He said no, she's dead. No, she's not. She's dead, Harriet. No, she's not. We never see the body, and she's not dead. So I thought that was a pretty miserable way to have her go out. But it seems, hearing you describe it, it seems more spectacular than they could make it with the semi truck and all that. And but filming it on the day, we were on there's everything is like the A crew and the B crew, and so we were doing the stuff off site. It was my last day. It was not a crew I had worked with. It was not, nobody else was there. And nobody, it was just so, it was sort of so dropped off that this was the end, and nobody, and they always clap you off, when it's your last. But it was like nobody even said it's Harriet's last day. Plus, we're not going to put her in the Wikipedia. So, but it certainly wasn't being punished. It's just, wrapping up. And I just thought, oh, Felicia's so fantastic. She's just such a great character. Really? She's going to have her daughter's ashes blown in her face. And I mean, it's wonderful, and it's justice. I get that. And as I said, hearing you talk about it, it sounds great. But at the time, it was a miserably hot day, and nobody was there that I really knew. And although it was, the crews were always great, but it just felt like, I don't really think that's the end. And she's come back before, and even though you knew it was over, I knew it was, that was it. But I didn't like the end for her.
In your mind, she still lives on.
Yes. Yeah.
And in our hearts. I mean, whether or not she's on the Wikipedia page is irrelevant to us. She is such
the justice of that is just, that's an injustice.
It is.
We would agree.
She's such an integral part to the show, and really was a delight revisiting on this first season.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. I think that's all we have for you, Harriet. I guess we just have to say how much gusto we feel just watching you, and how much gusto you have on screen with this character. I was just, anything that you are in, whenever I see you in it, like a Paul Thomas Anderson project or anything, I was just watching, there's a 48-minute Frasier supercut of you on YouTube. We love a mid-Atlantic accent. It was just becoming obsessed with you through Felicia Tilman is really a pleasure. So I guess thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you. And I'm thrilled I got to play her, because it was a really fun part.
Yeah.
Bye. Right. Nice to see you guys. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.